If you are struggling with showing up for a podcast because sometimes speaking is difficult, then this episode is going to show you exactly how to become a better speaker, to engage with other podcasters, and really hone in on your craft as a podcaster. Today's guest, Roy Coughlan, is a fun and inspiring human. He has done so much in his career and has gone through so many struggles, but got to a point where he just said, look, I'm going to do the thing. So if you are struggling with showing up for your podcast because you struggle with speaking or you're trying to get out of your own head, this episode is going to help you. Hello, Roy. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I'm very excited to chat with you. So if you could start by telling everyone who you are, what you do, and about your various podcasts.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you very much for having me on the show. Really appreciate it. So my name is Roy Coughlan. I'm living in Poland now in a place called Łódź, which is in the centre of Poland. I'm here 16 years. I'm originally from Cork in Ireland, which is in the south of Ireland. It's one of the biggest areas and the second in population-wise. And I suppose with the different podcasts I've got currently, I suppose you're new to the information. I'm actually working on my sixth one. So the sixth one will actually be released this week as we're recording this. And so I've got the speaking podcast. I've got the Awakening, which is exposing fraud and corruption, but with solutions. Got a meditation podcast, which is all things meditation. People give me their meditations and we have conversations on yoga, chakras, different types of breath work. And I've got meditations from 1 minute to 2 hours, because sometimes people say, hey, I don't have time to meditate, so I don't accept that. You have a minute, we can do that. I've got the Learn Polish podcast, and basically when I moved to Poland, I was trying to improve my languages, so I created that one to help me, and it ended up being very successful. The Crypto podcast, talking about blockchain technology, all things NFTs and all that. And the new one is the Podfather, because one of my clients actually said, you're the Podfather, because I got him on so many shows, and I was like, oh, I like that. So it's actually going to be just giving tips, but it's going to be a short one. It's going to be like a 5-minute thing. And I'll also get people coming on, giving their tip on something. So I'll expect you to be coming on as well and give me some tips, because I know you're doing something similar to me. The 5 have been in the top 1%, with 4 getting to the top 0.5%. And I've released something like 1,200 plus episodes. And yeah, I've been in the charts #1 in a lot of countries. And yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, right? Like the way you're talking about it, you obviously have such a love for podcasting as a medium. When did you first discover podcasting?
I was always listening to podcasts. So I suppose it kind of goes into my journey of how it actually happened as well, because I was doing real estate in Poland and doing very well. And I had a lot of syndicates. I was doing kind of lots of different developments with different investors involved. And then the crash happened, and I was actually doing very well because I was managing properties, fitting them out and renting them and everything, as well as selling properties and sites. But the investors kind of was losing things, and I thought, this is only a little hiccup, things will become right. And they didn't. And I started reinvesting. I said, look, I'll increase my share. If you can't pay me back, I'll just take the shareholding and I'll charge you 10% interest a year. I was being fair with all of them. And unfortunately, it didn't come right. And then I kind of, I went too deep and everything went tumbling down. So I was kind of looking to make kind of like 5 million euro. And as it turns out, in most countries, when you lose things in a company, it's kind of like lessons learned, let's start again. But in Poland, you're personally liable. And nobody actually told me that. And I was the president of a lot of companies. And yeah, so I went to -5. And basically, you kind of asking about how I got into pod. I mean, I was listening to a few, but one was meditation. So through that kind of painful journey of losing everything, losing my houses in Ireland and my personal belongings, the whole lot, they just came in and didn't even get to see what was left in there. It was kind of one of these tough situations, which I know is international and millions of people go through this. So I listened to a meditation, and it was a guided meditation, and that kind of helped me through the journey, because it was, what are you grateful for? And by being grateful, you're thinking of the positive things instead of all the doom and gloom. And the other thing was the act of forgiveness, and was actually trying to forgive like builders that had done dodgy jobs and just different people that had kind of tricked me over the years. And through that, I was able to actually overcome the pain, and how I actually done. Some are hard, and especially when they're big numbers. It was like I brought them back to the child. So I actually visualized the child. We've unconditional love for a child. We never hate a child. We look at a child and we just kind of go, ah. So
Yeah.
what I said is somebody external created who they were. They were either had alcoholic parents, abusive or whatever. We don't know their journey, or maybe the parents didn't pay attention to them and they were out gallivanting with the wrong people. They became who they were. So by actually bringing them back to the child, they was able to forgive them, and which in turn is actually you releasing it. Because when you're angry and thinking of something, they're not thinking of it. They're just going away thinking who their next victim is. You're poisoning your own cells. And by actually having forgiveness, you release it from yourself and you actually become a lot happier. So I just encourage anybody, no matter what they're going through, because I know a lot of people are suffering at the moment with all the bills, energy prices going through the roof, food prices. So just kind of take a step back and just forgive everybody, and life will become better.
Yes, and listen to your meditation podcast, right?
Exactly. So with the all losing everything, I kind of realized there's a load of corruption going on. Like there was bailiffs bribing people in the room to kind of get the property themselves, with obviously whoever they had there to buy it. They were valuing properties at half what they were worth, so that, and what they do is they do a screen, so they put it up as if it's advertised, but they do it for a second, take a screenshot and then remove it, so nobody turns up, and they end up, it's like the first auction is at 75%, the second one is 50%. But because I pay attention to a lot of things, I kind of realize what's going on here.
Yeah.
So got the decks cleared on a lot of them. I was actually looking forward for them to come after me for some of the things, because I said, you're in trouble if you're doing this. But nah, nothing. There was ones just disappeared. Like, there was dates of nearly 1 million just gone. So, all right. And other ones, I had a lot of court cases and everything. But I saw courts were corrupt. It was just corruption, banks and everything. So when I went to an event in Mexico, it was by Mind Valley, it was what's your quest? And I thought, okay, I need to make this a mission, because there was too many people thrown in the towel. I need to fight this. And I said, I'm going to expose all of this. And at the event, there was brilliant speakers. And I actually was terrified of speaking. So when I came back, I said, I'm going to expose this, and I need to. It wasn't about a podcast. It was actually writing a book, which I did. I wrote the book, but basically I printed it, didn't do it officially. I just got 20 copies, and I said I wanted to get feedback, and they were like, you can't release this. You're going to be whacked. There's too much information in this. But I think now people kind of realize how corrupt the whole system is. But at that time, it was like, that's kind of gone back maybe 7 years ago or something like that, 6 years ago. So I went to a Toastmasters to say, okay, I need to become a better speaker. And I'll tell you how shy I was. When I went to the Toastmasters meeting, I had to bring my friends as crutches, like, because I couldn't go on my own. And I was like, this is brilliant. This is perfect. This is what I need. And they said, yeah, it's great, but we don't have time. And I was too shy to actually go back again. So there was a new club being formed a few months later. And I went, okay, everyone's going to be new. I'm going. Just signed up. They said, will you do a speech next week? I thought that was normal. I said, okay. And after that, I just said, speech. When people were afraid to do a speech, I'll do a speech. When people didn't turn up, I'll do a speech. I entered every competition, and I did open mic, TEDx, comedy. I was doing comedy speeches. I got into the final of 5 countries with the Toastmasters, and I became a DTM, which is kind of like the top after 3 years, which is kind of rare, and I formed my club. I went back. I joined the club that I was afraid to go into. So I just kind of went from one extreme to the other. And my thing in that is we tell ourselves a story. We tell ourselves, I can't do this, or I'm afraid of this, or I'm a bad speaker, or I'm a bad this, or I'm a bad that. And it's like, no, park that story. I was so shy when I was young, I wouldn't go into the shop. I remember giving my friend the money to go in and buy the sweets. When I was 18, I was a good boy. I didn't start drinking early. I waited till I was 18. And when we went to the bar, I wouldn't go up to the bar for a drink. I just give my friend the money for the bar. I was too shy to go up and get a drink. And even in meetings and everything, I just was terrified. So I went from that to doing hundreds of speeches, and even on Mind Valley I was on the stage, and I wasn't nervous at one stage. Then I've done loads of live interviews and everything. So it's like, if you told me before I would be doing what I'm doing now, I'd say no way. So don't have that fear, because it's beneficial for the podcaster, because in interviewing and everything, because sometimes people, they think they'll be nervous and everything. And to be honest, there's a group, Rohan Alawala. He's actually trying to teach a lot of kids in Pakistan to do interviews. And what I say is, they're just looking for people to interview, just want to have conversations. Practice on them. if you're going to do a podcast or if you're going to start public speaking, no matter, they'll interview you for 30 minutes, but it's not going to be put out to your audience. And just learn your mistakes from that and just keep doing it, keep doing it. And just, if anyone says, will you do a speech? Just have a yes attitude. I'm definitely doing it. And will you be nervous? Of course. There was times like I went up there, I was terrified. When I started doing it first, it was like, it's not as if like I just decided, hey, I'm going to be a public speaker and it was grand. No, it took a long time. But once you decide to do something, figure out how you're going to do it. And there's plenty of people that will actually support you in the journey.
And you're not going to be good the first time, right? I think that so often, especially as like perfectionists, like going into it, you're like, oh, I have to be perfect, or it has to be perfect, or I have to be the perfect podcaster, I have to be the perfect speaker, I have to be the perfect interviewer. You're not going to, and you're most likely going to go back and listen to those initial speeches, initial podcast episodes, and cringe.
And I do it. I cringe a lot. I go back and I go, and even just the quality, the camera work, everything that you do, you just go. But that's the beauty. It's like, as long as you're kind of willing to learn, and then the minute you start, you're paying attention to others, and then that's how the journey of improving happens. Whereas if you never, like, sometimes people are procrastinating, they're like trying to get everything ready and right, and they never start. Just start, make your mistakes. Do you think someone's going to come up to you and give out to you? If they do, who cares? You will find the people that will support you.
Yes. So good. So when did you start your first podcast? And I do want to go into the variety that you have, because I think that it's unique in the podcasting space and something that I think that we can all learn from. But when did you start your very first one?
So it was 2018, November 2018. And what happened is I went to another event. It was Mind Valley one as well. And there was sometimes people would organize workshops outside of the event. And this guy was a podcaster for about a year. And he said, yeah, I'll teach people if they're interested in how to do a podcast. And I never even thought of it. I used to listen to podcasts, but never thought of it. And I went, ooh, this is a good way for me to get my message out. So the first one was the speaking, because I had met so many people around, the world because of the Toastmasters. I said, okay, this will be easy. And that was the first, and then the meditation and the Polish. And it was never a case of when I'd done the speaking, I was thinking about the meditation. I just then realized this will help a lot of people if I can have a meditation podcast. And they're free. They're always free. They're always going to be free, because what happened with me is the ones I liked were disappearing and another one became paid. And like when you lose everything, you're watching every penny. And I was like, I don't want anyone ever to do that. So it was a mission as well. And I think if you have a mission and something passionate in your podcast, the people will know that as well. And I encourage people that are thinking of starting, what skill set can you bring to the table and how can you improve mankind? So if there's something that's annoying you, don't expect somebody else to do it. If you can actually think of some way that will help people, create a podcast and start doing it.
I have to constantly talk myself out of starting new podcasts because, like, oh, that's a great podcast idea. Let's do it. I'm like, whoa, pause. Pause, Alicia, because you got way too many things going on already. So how do you kind of decide to follow your curiosity, to follow the missions and the things that are really important to you, and to come to a decision of, okay, a podcast is the right next step for me? Or do you find that like maybe you need to be speaking about it first? Or what does that journey kind of look like for you?
No, I don't I just kind of say, oh, this would be good. Let's just do it. And I try to systemize everything. So, because you've obviously come across some people and they do one a week and they throw in the towel. They're like, oh, it's too much. Or they go, I don't have time to do one. Sometimes I'll do 10 or plus interviews in a week. So it is possible. Plus, I've got equal custody of my child. So some people say, oh, I'm a parent, I can't do that. And when I'm with my child, I'm with my child. I'm playing with him. I'm playing football. I'm playing games. I'm doing stuff. I don't be working when I'm with my child. And, I've got a lot of things going on. So if you actually put your head down and say, I'm going to do this, anyone can do it. And just don't say, I'll try it. When I'm doing it, I'll say, I'm doing this for a year at least. If there's a new podcast, I'll see how it goes. And I know, even the new one, I'm actually, because I've never got past the 0.5%. I want to get to 0.1 because there's no in between in the kind of thing. It doesn't go 4, 0.3. So I could be very close with some of them. I don't know. But like I said, with this one, I'm going to make it this one because I said it's a 5-minute one and I'm going to just give so much value because when I'm sharing different things, because it's not just going to be me talking as well. I'm going to get people to come on as well that they just give one tip, but something that's really valuable. And I think that will just help. And that's the plan for that. It mightn't. It might be the first one that doesn't get into the top 1%, but I'm kind of determined. I'll constantly look at okay, how can I make this better? How can I get, where do I reach the audience? And just instead of just putting it there, like I'm conscious of the best marketing strategies for what I'm doing.
Yeah, so let's talk about those marketing strategies. Before we were talking about video, and I know going into 2024, video is going to be even more important than ever, not just in the podcasting side, but in the marketing of the podcast. So, stopping the scroll on social media, getting people to engage with your content. People are looking for video content on those platforms. So, what are some marketing strategies that you're finding are working really well right now and that you maybe anticipate maybe going away as well in 2024?
Well, one thing, anyways, I encourage everybody to put the videos out, and not just YouTube, because everyone is like, oh, YouTube, because one of mine is controversial and they don't like what I talk about. I got removed, and I just happened to have BitChute, and I just posted the other day. It was a kind of sweet victory because I hit 300,000 downloads on that channel, and it was kind of like, okay, this is good. You know, it's growing. It's not. So it feels good. So there's Rumble as well. There's a load of other ones. I tried. I tried about 10. And once you put the energy in, because it's not a case of you can just post and it goes out to all of them. You have to kind of do the whole lot, and they all have their own kind of different systems and everything. You can't just expect that you press record or post and it's done. You have to do the work, because sometimes people think, I'll put up the YouTube channel, I'll put up whatever, and then it'll find a million people, or it'll find whatever. You have to be sharing it and you have to do the work, and most people don't do that. They do. When they're podcasting, what happens is they'll spend a lot of time preparing for a guest, they'll have a lovely interview, and then they'll just share it on their Facebook or whatever, and that's it, and then they're on to the next one. And it's like, unfortunately, we have to do the work. We have to create the shorts. Like, so on the YouTube, you're on about the video, I think shorts definitely has helped. There's a lot of AI tools out because of kind of where I am with all the podcasts, and they're in the kind of, a load of people reach out to me and they're asking me to be beta testing on all these different things. But are they great? You know, some of them is like, oh, you can only 30 minutes, and then they change. I said, look, 30 minutes is no good. Most of my videos are like an hour, and sometimes I do lives for 2 hours. So they said, oh, we'll change it. And it just then takes 15 minutes. And it's no good. So I'm actually working on creating an AI for podcasters, because I see what's not working, and I've got a brilliant guy that's actually working with me, and we're trying to create something that will really help people, because there's so many people will be writing to you and they'll be trying to they'll create the shorts, and some of them are terrible. I mean, I've created nice ones. So for the Polish one, we make it look like a Polish flag, and we've got the
Nice.
video in it, and we've got the actual text of the show as well, or where you find us, my bio link. And sometimes people will just see that and you want to grab their attention as well. So having the link in it, or if you put stuff on Facebook, unfortunately, when you put the video up, I mean, you've probably noticed that. Like, I check all the different social media of the engagement is, but I figured it out. Like, it's like you have to kind of put a picture up and then the line underneath it. And it's a pain that it's, that it's not just the way it used to be, but we have
Mhm.
to kind of navigate. And I think people are kind of going away from Facebook. And I mean, most times people, they have one social media that they love. And I think that's a good idea, that you become brilliant at one. Because a lot of the times we try to do the 20, the TikTok, the this, the that, the that. And then it's a lot of time. And then you're just kind of, you're just trickling along. So what I do is I buy a book on Facebook, I buy a book on this, I buy something on TikTok. I'll try to, but I'm after getting 8 community strikes now on TikTok. I mean, one of the speaking ones I put up, I got like 13,500 views. I said, okay, this is brilliant. I'm going to start blasting this out. And of course, once I had like my awakening one, I got community strike, community, and I just thought it doesn't make sense me putting my energy into this, because they're just going to say good luck after, I don't
Yeah.
know, do you get 10 community strikes? I don't know what way it is. So you have to kind of watch that as well. And sometimes not to have certain words or in the title and the thing, because if you mentioned, the poison dart or something like that, it just, it goes against you, unfortunately. So you learn and you start strategizing, okay, what's going to work. If you ask what do I see will happen next year, I think there will be better AI tools coming. One question I ask all my guests is, what's the social media platform that they use for their business and everything? Nobody likes it. We all think, oh, it's great, we're on it. it's a time suck. It's like it sucks our energy. We're only doing it because we have to connect with people. I mean, the original kind of Facebook connecting with friends and family was brilliant because, you want to see your friends' kids and just different things that's going on. And then when you meet them, maybe it's 2 years before you still have that bond, but you no longer see that. Like you just see sponsorship, sponsorship, sponsorship.
Yeah.
And so I think find what's working for you and whatever kind of clients you're looking for. LinkedIn, a lot of people do the LinkedIn and they put it on that. But you kind of, I even I got removed from LinkedIn at one stage, and I had to kind of grovel to get back because I used that for business, and I got back. But just most people won't have a podcast like mine. They'll be kind of sensible and they'll do normal podcasts. So you're not worrying about that. But there are some people want to do that and expose stuff. So if you are, just be, and have a few little angles. So if you're taken down from one place, don't cry. What I did actually is when I got removed from YouTube, I took a screenshot and I shared it everywhere and said, I'm on BitChute, blah, blah, blah. And my podcast went from the top 1% to the top 0.5%. So they actually done me a favor. It was like I didn't kind of cry over it. And they removed my crypto one about a month ago. Why? I don't know. Got no notifications, got no strikes on it, just gone, just disappeared. And I went, that's one less hassle of me actually putting this on the things. And what I do, because I've got the 5 what I started doing is I have my own YouTube channel. So I put, and I've organized it that you actually find them easy. And I'm just conscious of like, if there's anything that's dodgy on the Awakening one, I won't put in. But there's a lot of times, that's kind of health stuff that's decent. It's not going to get a strike. So I'll put them up. But if I think it's on the fence, I'd avoid doing that.
That makes a lot of sense. What was the other one to YouTube that you mentioned?
BitChute and Rumble.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of those before, so that's interesting. And if someone does have a controversial one, they might be interested in knowing those
Yeah, it's good.
ones.
And there's no advertising. Like, they just might you can even turn off advertising, but they just have like one little thing at the end. It's not like YouTube where you're watching a video and then there's an advert coming up and an advert. And the same with Rumble. Rumble now allows live. And I'm seeing people are getting good traction when they do a live on that. So it's good to have an alternative. And I mean, if you've got, like, for example, with my Polish one, I have it scheduled that it goes out like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But the videos, I then just, the next day, I just cut and paste all the information and I do the 3 at the same time. So I kind of make sure that I do it fast. And then I just share it to the groups and different Reddit as well. It can be good, but that's a bit controversial. It's hard. Most people don't want you to be posting on it and you have to be careful. And others are delighted. They're right. No, thanks very much for sharing. And it's, I've even got a book on it that didn't make much sense still. So like, that's what I'm hoping actually with my own one. Get somebody that comes in and tells people how to use Reddit and things like that.
I mean, there's so many different platforms, and I love what you said about finding one that you enjoy, find one that you're really going to go all the way with, because that's so much a better use of your time than trying to figure out all of them and giving each of them a little bit of your time, right? So giving all of your time to this one thing, creating a community around there, not just posting and ghosting, right? Like really engaging with your community about the content that you're creating. I was actually talking to a podcasting friend of mine this morning. We were having just a coffee chat, and she was saying she sees so many podcasters do this where they'll post on LinkedIn or they'll post on social media, and then they just stop. Like, that's it. They're not engaging with other people. They're not connecting with other people. It's like, that's the way that she has grown, not just her podcast, but also her business, is by being a community member, right? And I think that especially as we crave so much connection, that we go about it that way, not just thinking of the people that view our stuff as numbers, but as actual human beings, and considering them as that. I think it will change how we approach how we're marketing our podcast.
That's a very important point, because a lot of times people, they'll outsource that, and it's something that I don't do. I mean, you can outsource someone posting the shorts and creating the shorts and all that by all means, but still check it, because even for me, I've spotted a few times they've done things and I just cringe and go, oh, take that down immediately. Like, but like there was one, it was a crypto, it was a guy, he made 20,000 to 5 million and they put down $20 to 5 million, but I mean, yeah, just pay attention. But a lot of times people outsource the commenting side as well. And you don't know what people like, because they're not at your level. and they'll just think there's not. You could miss opportunities, like even on YouTube or whatever. Just give a heart when there's a comment, and sometimes just thanks for watching or return the thing. And I think you're building the community, but at the same time you're spotting opportunities, and just a kind of buyer beware as well. Like, because there is a lot of this kind of people, they're trolls, they're abusers, they're there, and unfortunately, some podcasters, creators, YouTubers, they throw in the towel when they come across these people. There's two things you
Yeah.
do: you ignore it or you delete it. Don't ever engage, because you're dealing with somebody. Billy no mates, they have time, and that's what they want. They want you to engage, and they want you to have abuse against it. I mean, there's times somebody will post something, you go to bed, you get up in the morning and you see 20 or 30 comments, just people fighting over something, and you're like, you're not even involved in it. And it's like, I don't delete that. But if I see, like, even the Polish one, there's sometimes people are really abusive, I'd report it, because if you report it, it stops them being on the platform and doing it to somebody else. So
Yeah.
report people, or if it's just kind of just negative, just delete it. Don't, because most people, what happens is, you could have 100 thumbs up, you could have lots of beautiful comments, and you'll have someone they'll just destroy you, and you put all your energy towards that. So don't give them that. They don't deserve that. Do not give them that. Do not even think about it. Remove it, delete it. And even what I encourage people to do is make a book or have a computer file of all the beautiful things that you get, all the reviews that you get that are beautiful. And when you feel that kind of ickiness, you just read that and you bounce back straight away. Don't let them have it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And it's such a good reminder, too. They're just people who want a response, right? They just want to pick fights. They just want to do that. And sadly, there are people like out in the world. And I think as creators, we can take it very personal because it's our work, it's our words, it's our everything, right? That we're putting into these podcasts and into this content. But yeah, remembering the good stuff and remembering the things and the kind things that people have said. And I think that also as podcasters and as creators, it's also encourages us to share with our podcasting friends and the podcasts that we listen to, share love notes with them. Like, send them a DM and tell them that you love their podcast. Leave them a review that tells how much you really appreciate their show or how much you are loving their show. That can make a difference in someone's day.
And I mean, it's like the review thing as well, because, and I actually encourage people now listening to this to make sure you actually give this podcast a review and a 5-star rating. And some people go, I don't know how to do it. On Spotify, there's 3 little dots. You go into it. You don't have to give, there's no comment, just give a 5-star review. If you don't like it, don't waste your time. We don't want them people to be giving us review. On Apple, you just go to the podcast, you scroll down a bit, you'll see the 5-star thing, hit the 5-star and leave a review and have a nice little title and a comment. And trust me, we read them, we see them. I mean, I actually, when I get them, I post them because they make your day. You just, like, you're
Yeah.
going, some people just really do a beautiful review, and it's like, you're touching them because you don't know how many people you're actually helping. And there's some people will just kind of appreciate it and they'll give the effort to do it. So what I would say is, that people are actually appreciating and respecting your interview and your podcast, to do it. It makes a massive difference. It gets you up the charts, which in turn shows it to more people, which helps more people.
Yes. And if you're in the US, Spotify has opened up comments on podcast episodes. So that is cool as well. You can leave comments on those, and the hosts will see that on the back end and be able to publish those if they want. But they can always take those screenshots of love letters. So yeah, I love that. That's so good. Thank you so much, Roy. This has been such a great and just fun conversation, and like hearing your journey and your story and all of your podcasts. Where can people find you, hang out with you, get to know you? We'll make sure that we have all those links in the show notes as well.
So what I do, and I encourage others as well, because sometimes people give all the different handles. I have bio.link/podcaster. So bio.link/podcaster. All my podcasts, all my coach, all the different things, everything. Because sometimes things can change and you can just modify it. So, and yeah, sometimes you can be kicked off a platform, and then you just remove it from your link.
Yep.
So like, people use Linktree as well, but like, I like the bio link, people mightn't be aware of that, but that's actually, you can have the free version and it looks so good. Like, it looks like a really good website. Linktree, I got kicked off that as well. I have 3. I had about 6 of them. 3 of them got removed, and it's like, they just say you go against their community line. So what I encourage people is, have a link that, if they're, whatever they're doing, YouTubing or going on other shows and everything, make it easy for people. And even, like, I don't have it there now because I have a throw over that's the wall, but with my green screen, I use a QR code as well. make it easy for people. People can get out the cameras, take a picture, and they've got all the links to your thing. And or if you're speaking on a stage, have the same thing at the end of your speech and you're doing slide presentation, put up the thing with the QR code, and people have access to your email or whatever you want to share with them.
Yeah, oh, those are great tips. And we will definitely make sure that we link that in the show notes. That way, anyone can go to that link if they're driving or doing other things and they want to come back to it later. Thank you so much, Roy. This has been so much fun.
Thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed it.